do everything.
You're live.
Welcome back, folks. This is House Corrections and Institutions. It's Friday, February 27th. We are back for work with our legal counsel. We do have a new draft on the telecom. It is H-294, and we have a new draft 2.1 for that. So, John, it's all yours. So walk us through.
Happy Friday. John Gray, Office of Legislative Counsel. Here we go. Pretty simple stuff you're going to see here. I think not verbatim what was said yesterday, but quite close to capturing the set of intent conditions that you guys had discussed. So briefly, the updates you're going to see here are new intent language, considerations for cost analysis that take account of the fact that Wi-Fi may or may not be present within facilities, cutting the cost mitigation piece that kind of anticipated a further along process, and then adding a date for updates to justice oversight. So the first piece I'm going to talk about is the intent section here. Because we're in a session law provision in the first instance, you may be used to seeing intent sections as standalone sections. That would be the case if you had a broader bill with, lots of statutory amendments and the like. You'd want to separate that out. Because you're just dealing with a session law provision here, we can include it as a subsection. And so that's what you see. This new sub A, it is the intent of the General Assembly to, 1, create conditions of incarceration that encourage the development and maintenance of the personal supports necessary for rehabilitation. That consideration was combining 2 separate points made yesterday for cultivating a rehabilitative environment and then supporting personal supports. I kind of thought of those as, in a way, grouped together. The second condition, which is separate from a rehabilitative environment, mitigating disruptions to family and community connections caused by incarceration by reducing communication barriers. So this was the increasing contacts with family, children, and the like. 3, this was Representative Hedrick's proposal to divest the state from the for-profit prison industry. And 4, this is Representative Winter's suggestion, inform state correctional policy decision-making with data, fiscal analysis, and agency expertise. So 4 kinds of conditions here. 1 is rehabilitation related. 1 is about ensuring family and community continuity. 3 is divestment. And 4, it's just data informing policy decision-making. The piece I would note about sub 4, at least, is I think that intent is implicit in B. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't include it here. I just mean to say that even if you don't express that, a report that's gathering information suggests that is what you're trying to do. Right.
So let's have a conversation about the intent language. Question?
I think you did a good job capturing the discussion yesterday.
Nice. I had started out in, maybe not interesting to you guys, but when I was putting this together, I ended up with differently sized subdivisions. Like some were running like 4 lines and the like, and I was worried that it might suggest a priority level to the different conditions, just because some are devoted more text, basically. So I tried to make them look like equal priorities, essentially, within the intent section.
Are we comfortable with this language, folks? Looks good.
I am.
Yeah.
Nice. Success. Okay.
Yeah, that's rare. Changing it.
This thing is looking pretty good. So subsection B is your report itself. And the new language that we have at the bottom of page 1 on line 20, and I'm just going to read the lead-in for this. DOC to provide a written report evaluating options for providing no-cost telecommunications services to inmates in state correctional facilities that analyzes the cost to the state of each alternative, including startup and transition costs, both with and without Wi-Fi. So you would get basically you'd get 2 scenarios for that analysis of transition costs. I'm going to jump to page 2. This was one I wasn't certain if the committee had fully coalesced around, but I had written down in subdivision F on line 4, as part of this cost analysis, we had talked about quantitative and qualitative measures. Sub F conceivably captures both in a way that not necessarily the other subdivisions do. And when we spoke yesterday, we had talked about this, any anticipated benefits or savings, including reasonably ascertainable societal, and I'm going to skip the highlighted language to just talk about what we had yesterday, including reasonably ascertainable societal or public safety impacts. While that's just including language, meaning it doesn't exhaust the sets of savings that are there, sometimes folks read the including language to be suggestive of what kinds of savings you're trying to capture. And I think it was me actually who expressed the worry that you just say societal or public safety impacts that may be read to the exclusion of impacts within the correctional facility where you might have anticipated benefits or savings to the benefit of the inmates, right? So I think there was some appetite for this, but it wasn't fully settled. So I proposed here in sub F adding in correctional impacts just to make clear that this any anticipated benefits or savings isn't just outside the walls of a correctional facility.
And that was addressing in terms of, it's a tool sometimes that helps tone down the anxiety within the facility.
I guess, Haley, if you're comfortable, I'd just like your thoughts on, is F clear enough that we're really trying to get an understanding of how this is a little more amorphous, right? This is a little more undefinable, that if our correctional population, our incarcerated population has more access to their circles of support and connection, does that impact overall well-being in a way that is noticeable? I don't know how, it's Friday and I'm a bit jumbled, but one, I guess, is that what we're trying to do here? And is that clear in F?
I think it is clear as it is written. But the language is somewhat vague.
Yeah.
I could probably think of some potential terms that might get at what you're hoping to cover, Troy. I would just need to think on that.
Yeah.
You got a week.
Yeah, I mean, I would offer that if you want to be more, it's intentionally vague at this point. If you want to be specific, I'm also happy to think about like if you want that specific call out, that's about the welfare of inmates within the correctional facility, that can be specifically designated. My concern was to not narrow the full, if you're trying to say, we really do want to know any kinds of benefits or savings that haven't been captured in any of, I mean, the other way to do it would be to say, although this is giving a lot of discretion to the department, you have these call outs in 3A through E, and F could be a catch-all that's like, and any other measures that the department feels important or meaningful not captured in A through E. Like which grants a lot of discretion, but allows the department to say, these are the sorts of benefits we think accrue and just aren't captured through these other quantitative measures.
I would be concerned. And I don't say this often. I would be concerned that that's almost too much discretion. Just off the top of my mind, things that kind of come to mind for me are things like isolation in the facility,
Right.
Violence against others and
Right,
staff,
right.
relationships between staff and incarcerated people, behavioral kind of impacts, those types of things really stand out to me. I don't know that they need to be overly prescriptive, but I believe that those would likely be the best measures.
Yes, okay, that was well done. Yeah, thanks.
So it's behavioral and security. Because you got security of the facility in terms of
Yeah.
if people are not as anxious, they're more calm, the security risk in your facilities has decreased quite a bit.
And violence.
violence. But I'm thinking coming from the correctional officer's perspective, because they're there really to provide security. Security for the folks who are incarcerated and security for the facility, that the facility doesn't get taken over. I'm gonna be blunt on that one, but that's part of their role for that. So it's both behavioral and some security.
So, just so I'm understanding, do you want to maintain all of the aspects that already exist in F, excluding either including or excluding the highlighted language? And then also be specific as to these additional enumerated factors, or are you proposing to replace sub F with this more specific directive to consider factors within the facility?
More with such as, I think.
More defining the correctional piece, right?
Okay, okay.
Well, does putting culture after correctional elucidate or just elongate it?
Correctional.
Yeah, I don't think it
Right?
clarified, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, never
Yeah, it
mind.
does. You get to
I mean-
do another draft.
I mean, the other thing you could do is you could add in a new F that has these enumerated factors and then keep any anticipated benefits or savings, including reasonably ascertainable societal or public safety impacts. But there's different ways to do it. As I understand it, you want the full capture of interest.
Yes. Please.
I will say that of public safety impacts, I feel as though that would really have to be speculation, because I'm thinking
Yeah.
about what would happen when someone is released from their sentence, and I'm not aware of any sort of
But
studies or research.
would you be willing, is there like a lit review sort of best practices across other states, noticeable impact on no cost calls on those variables? That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, the things that I've seen out there frankly are really related to incidents when a person is incarcerated, as opposed to what happens once they're released.
Well, in which case, can you stretch safety to cover both within and without, during and after?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an avenue. I think just clarifying that it's both, yeah,
Yeah.
rather than cutting public.
Yeah.
Also use the term recidivism.
Yes.
You guys are trying to take me past 2 lines here.
So, are you clear?
Yeah, I can do something on this for sure. It's super helpful. The next change in the draft is something that's not visible. Former subdivision 4, which was options for mitigating the cost of each alternative, including limitations on usage. The committee had rejected that subdivision yesterday, so that has been struck.
Yep.
And then the last piece is bottom of page 2, line 12, starting on line 12, adding date provisions to ensure earlier and timely updates. So on or before September 15th, 2026, DOC shall begin providing regular updates on the department's evaluation of telecommunications service models to the Joint Legislative Justice Oversight Committee for the committee's analysis and input. It's kind of has a dual effect. One is it ensures that this process is started earlier rather than later. And then also has the effect of providing those updates to justice oversight. So it kind of builds in two features.
So as I'm thinking about this, I'm wondering, because the final report is due December 1st, right?
Which I should also say is a date I arbitrarily.
Right.
So
Right. I'm kind of wondering if, I don't think I really like providing regular updates. And I'm wondering if they did the initial update on September 15th with a follow-up on November 15th, that then gives, I've been through this before. And sometimes the reports, oh, we haven't done it yet. And you get that on the 17th, and then it's due on the 1st of December, and you don't have another check-in.
So
So you could do, if you did a check-in, if you had a report and then to Justice Oversight on September 15th. Then have a subsequent one on the 15th of November.
Yep. So, and this is replacing also the regular update, as I understand it. It's just being prescriptive. Provide a first, it's essentially provide a first draft September 15th, and then provide a preview of what is going to be the final submitted to the legislature on November 15th.
Yeah. And take out, begin providing regular updates, because that
Yeah,
that
exactly.
just doesn't work in the legislative oversight world, and those are little loopholes. Oh, we gave you an update, we're not doing it.
Yeah, the one thing I would note just pragmatically is that the effect of the current draft is on September 15th, DOC doesn't have to have a first draft, right?
Right.
They just need to begin providing those updates. They might be at this early stages.
Right.
This would actually accelerate even further the timeline for DOC because they would need to be providing
I don't know.
a relatively thought out thing in September.
You know what you might want to do for language? We did this with the Victim Notification Task Force, where they had to report to justice oversight by certain dates.
Okay,
I don't know, I can't
I'll,
remember
I'll look.
how it was worded.
I mean, the concept you just described works. I'm just thinking about the practical limitations and
Yeah.
burden on the department.
And this goes into effect July 1st, right?
Yes, I think the broader bill is part of,
We could amend this, it takes effect upon.
so it depends on what the full of the bill is, right? If you, I mean, I say that, you could make this section without knowing when the bill will ultimately make it, right? The way that I think about it is we have instances in other spaces where a bill is going through the legislative process and the agencies are taking their cue from the legislative process, knowing that they're going to have to do it. And they commence the work in advance of an act, basically, because they're like, we need to be ready.
Well, I'm not sure what else from the original bill we're gonna pick up.
Okay.
But if we're just gonna limit it to the telecom piece, and then we're expecting them to give a report of where they are on September 15th.
Passage work, yeah.
Yeah, July is too short a time.
Um,
So we've got some changes on this, Troy.
Can I bring in some additional? Are we good?
Yep, you got 5 minutes.
Yeah, still would like to see some mandatory stakeholder consultation. I suggested a list. This is public service, treasurer, JFO, nonprofits, families, grantees, print. Do we want to have DOC develop a implementation plan, or is that too many steps ahead?
That's 2 minute steps ahead, isn't it?
Then I included a section of sort of a wage impact evaluation that I felt was missing in the December report, but I don't know if we want to muddy the waters.
So when you're talking mandatory stakeholder participation, is that
Consultation,
consultation? So they would need to consult as they're doing the evaluation?
yeah.
Where's the committee on that?
All good. I was just thumbs up.
Other votes?
Good.
Yeah. There you got one, Troy.
Yeah, I think, okay. What's that? What'd you say, Chair?
I said you got one.
Yeah. One for three.
Right now, the other one was any inclusion about,
That's gone. It's a back off.
Troy,
Pivot.
the other piece you mentioned was any language pertaining to the wage.
Right, there was a wage impact evaluation that I felt was missing from the December report that we got. I emailed the committee a while ago on that. And thought maybe this was an avenue by which we could ask for it again.
Folks thinking.
But that's, I haven't been, I linked the two together, that on top of telecom system right now that feels predatory, we also have a system that doesn't pay them wages to buy telecom minutes. So that's why I'm linking the two. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a way to link that with the be too complicated? Or link that with the evaluation of the telecom, that you're looking at the pressures or pressures you're putting on the inmate itself.
So I think it's conceivable. I think it's simpler to just separately ask for it, you know.
Folks on it. Ask John to work with Troy to develop some language to evaluate the impact of wages in terms of how it impacts their telecom availability,
I'm good with that.
because that's your linkage, right?
Yeah.
Folks, where are folks on this? I see some yeses, I see. kind of-
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, go on.
I'm disinterested in the subject, but to the extent it's being studied, I'm indifferent.
Impressively.
Control yourself, Lena.
Impressively.
This is how what we've
Yeah,
done.
I'm appreciative, Bill. I'm appreciative
You're
of,
not surprised.
I know.
He shoots.
That's what throw in commissary here too.
So,
Because the numbers that-
So-
Find out the root of pi.
What's the effect of giving them free commissary?
to your point on commissary, which is a joke, I think, but,
Making a point.
underlying H 294 does include a report from DOC that's evaluating specific contracts. Keith.
Yeah.
Okay. Which if this has just become a report bill, as I'm understanding it.
Good point.
Oh, no. Did not mean to make a goodness.
Why don't you work up some language about the connection with the wage and the access to telecoms, okay? For the next draft. With the changes we have here.
I have enough in my.
I think so.
And then why don't we have unresolved issues at the end of that in terms of the commissary?
Yeah, like we'll talk about, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because what I'm thinking, if we can have you back at the beginning of the week, we come back, like on Tuesday. We have another draft and then sign off on that and then see if we want to go further into looking at the commissary. That makes sense?
Yep.
Thank you.
That works.
Sounds good.
That's good, John. Thank you. Then
Sure.
you're gonna really start spending some time in here when we do markup. She's thrilled.
Yep,
That won't.
You can see you're excited.
I could tell.
I'm always,
We just operate a little different, this committee maybe, than some other committees, who knows? Wait.
all committees are unique.
They certainly are.
It's,
Markup.
right there. I was gonna say.
Like snowflakes.
Kind of makes it all worth it, doesn't it?
You didn't say that.
Yeah. Markup is an interesting process, but.
Yes, and it will be different second year than it is.
It'll be
But
especially different here.
Sitting in and watching our discussion as we go through line by line, do we accept the money or not? Is sometimes very laborious, but sometimes it really brings some issues up that you're like, well, we need more information on this. And that's why markup takes a little longer than you think. Because we will get into more testimony.
That's why you get the Snickers.
I watched all of last year's testimony at 2 times speed over the weekend.
They were paying,
Is that a hint?
they were
Nose
paying,
is growing.
I'm sure he's.
No, this is actually true. This is the way that I do
We
it.
did.
Right, that's just for fun. Animal.
And I think he used the word painful.
I've never been known to express
No.
that I'm in pain.
Whole process sometimes is painful.
The legislative process?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Painful.
that's what I was referring.
I agree.
Very painful. Thank you,
That-
Ron.
Thank you, guys.
We
Be
appreciate it.
great next week.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
around? Let's get next week off.
I will be off, but I may be around, so you can reach out. It's
No, I don't intend to unless there's a disaster.
And there's a garbage bill right behind you.
So thank you.
Enjoy your
Thank you.
time. waiting.
You guys.
Have you
That's the
been-
primary thing I look for.
You reached out
You guys,
about issue and.
Thanks, John.
Correctional facility for wanting a little bit more electrical upgrade and a break room for another refrigerator. They say it costs $1,400.
For the refrigerator.
No, for the upgrade in electricity.
They have not reached out to me.
I told them you would be in the building today.
Is that Joe?
Yes.
So
Sneaky.
what the issue is in the break room, they have one refrigerator. They want to have another refrigerator because it's not enough. But the electricals can't handle another.
So, if I can just say, Madam Chair, they may have reached out to our DFM, so when we get back,
So,
when we get back to the office, we'll find out, because I don't know unless our master electrician has looked at it, and made a determination, there needs to be more electrical upgrade. I can't respond that we do or we don't.
they indicated the cost was 1,400, and I said
For what?
to upgrade the electric for the circuit to.
So it's possible, so let us follow up with our DFM, because if that's the case, then I can make the policy decision to do it. And to make that investment, they're not empowered to make those decisions.
Right, they know that, but they were also asking me about where the money would come from.
Who's
And I,
that?
BSCA.
So
on
let us,
behalf-
it's our
on behalf of the
facility,
folks.
if it's $1,400, I think that I have flexibility within my fee for space budget and my building reuse budget to
Make your
accommodate
maintenance.
that. Right?
Yes.
So I told BSCA, you have to go through the commissioner, BGS. And if it's a small enough project, there is money in major maintenance, but you have to work with BGS. So that's what BSCA, they knew you were in the building this afternoon, commissioners.
Yeah, and I do want, just for the committee, it's really important sometimes that we need to make sure there's been conversation with our district facility manager, so we know really what's going on, because we have master electricians that would be making that evaluation.
And to get to the price, I don't know how they got to that price. So welcome.
So
I
I'd like to go first. I can do
Okay,
my questions
yeah.
if I can.
Yeah, I'm sorry, our schedule got a little mixed up. We ran late on the floor, which then bumped everything out. So we're doing the best to accommodate folks. So we have with us here the commissioner of BGS, and we also have the town manager from the town of Springfield. Hi, Scott. Welcome.
Good
I hope
afternoon.
you're settling into your new job.
Yes,
Scott's been on the job for not even a month.
Oh,
like to
So-
find some salt. That would be nice. That seems to
Yeah.
be the quest at the moment.
Oh, we're one of the towns, huh?
Yeah, we're having tough, everybody's having a tough time getting salt.
Right. Well, the state's not.
I think that we could have a conversation a whole nother day about soap. Today's
Yeah.
probably not the day.
Now, we had a managers meeting yesterday, so a bunch of people had ideas. I think we should definitely have a little forum.
Let's,
Yeah, well, we might want to reach out to AOT
Yeah,
for some of that.
yep.
Commissioner, why don't you come on up front? I'm gonna have the commissioner of BGS introduce this for us, Scott, and, the committee, the map, you're gonna put up the map.
That's not
Many
the-
members of the committee are new to this, so some of it's gonna have to take some time for some background information.
Okay.
I'm gonna get over to the commissioner, and then after we finish with the commissioner, Scott will.
Scott, and then we'll have Joe, Madam Chair, walk through the map.
Okay.
Okay, if we can.
And just to let Scott realize, we are streaming this live on YouTube. Just so you're aware of that. It's not just here in the room that folks can access this, but it's everywhere. So just to give you a heads up.
Sure.
Commissioner, welcome, and if you could identify yourself for the record.
So good afternoon, everyone. Wanda Manoli, Commissioner of Buildings and General Services. I hope all of you are feeling well and haven't been hit with all of the dreaded.
He's behind you.
Today is my first day back in the office.
Well, Sean hasn't made it yet.
I'm not contagious, but let me tell you what. Well, that's why I keep telling Joe I'm not contagious.
You're something else.
But I'm something else. Scott, it's a pleasure. Oh, Senator Representative Sweeney.
Oh, let it
It's big enough.
Nobody knows.
And Scott, it's a pleasure to see you. We've talked on the phone, but we have not had an opportunity to actually connect. So I just want to set the stage, and I know that there have been some discussions around this. So Scott's predecessor came to me, I think it was last fall. Everything seems to be a blur. And started discussing a change in some language that had occurred in 2024. So Act 162, 2024,
That's our previous capital bill.
two previous, right?
Not 24. It was in the previous, it's not this 2-year budget cycle.
It was the previous.
It was the previous 2-year budget cycles. So some of you folks like Sean and Joe and Kevin and Will and James and Brian were not here for that at all. Well, Troy, you were. You
Yes.
were, yeah.
Act number 162, 2024, section 23, there was language that was added. And what I want to just say, and that language, so I'm going to take you back in history. We have a correctional facility memorandum of understanding with the town of Springfield. And this is something we do for correctional facilities. And it was when we built that facility. And that agreement was signed in 1999, just a little history. And in that agreement, it references transfer of some land. It talks about the road. And what the agreement did, it was very flexible. So when Springfield was ready for this to occur, BGS would work with Springfield and we'd make things happen. What I understand is the intent maybe around what was in the memorandum of understanding was brought to this committee and they wanted to change it. And you created language in support of the request that we would transfer approximately 10 acres of land for a new town garage. And that is what the act was. Meeting with the predecessor, he came to me and having great conversations with Scott. That might have been at the time thinking about moving this, and I'll let the town answer to that. But what they said is we don't want to put the town garage there. We have some different opportunities, some different options, and we really do want the land transferred, and we want the land to be transferred really in alignment with what the original intent of the MOU was, with some different caveats. BGS has a memorandum of understanding. The state of Vermont entered into good faith with the town of Springfield to build the correctional facility. It has always been the intent that the state of Vermont would transfer a portion of land to Springfield. I want to work with Springfield. I want to be able to transfer this land while I take into consideration everything that we need to do for the correctional facility. Right now, I feel that as a commissioner, I am locked in to that language from 2024. And I can only transfer in that scenario. So Scott and I chatted and I said, this is something you really need to bring to the Committee of Institutions. You need to have this conversation. They'll ask you their questions. What I, again, am saying to this committee is it was always the intent. There's some language around the road. There's a bunch of language around the transfer of some form of land. And so what we've done based on our conversations is and Joe will walk you through this. We did a site map. We went beyond and basically said, what is the most land we can transfer? Instead of getting into the acres, is it 12 acres? Is it 10 acres? Is it 5 acres? How can we maximize what we can do in transferring land to support Springfield to do what they need to do? And so that's where I'm going to answer any questions, but then I'll let you decide, Madam Chair, if you'd like Scott to go first or if you would like Joe to walk through the map. I will tell you, we met with corrections We identified we maximized the site on land that we could transfer while we protected security parameters, future security needs, potentially expansion on the wood chip or the heating system. And we reviewed all of that with the Department of Corrections team, with Al Cormier, with the commissioner, and everyone nodded. And that's where we're at, and that's why we are here today. So
questions of the commission? Okay, great. Connor?
So like, I know the Springfield Correctional Facility was originally built with the idea it could expand, right?
yes.
Does anything interfere with?
No, and thank you for just bringing that up. And I don't think we have the whole site map, but actually when we designed that facility, we have right now a map that shows where another unit could go. And what we did when we built that facility is we put in the infrastructure to support that platform or where it would be.
Great.
But there is a certain amount of buffer that is needed when you have a correctional facility from neighboring activity. And this buffer before the amount of acreage to be transferred to the community, that buffer would incorporate a larger facility than what's there currently.
Yeah, and actually, I think the proposed land's on the opposite side of where that, where we identified where the future expansion would go. But Joe, I think, can talk about the buffer with corrections, and I just want to, and it's been a while, and I'll tell you, it was Al Cormier and others that we talked to, security is a priority, and security is changing, as I understand it, as I'm looking over in the world of corrections, right? We still have fences, but we're also doing much more modern technology in different types of security systems. So we have done our best analysis to ensure and to protect that area. And I'm not asking you to respond, but I'm looking at you because I think you might have been in those meetings. Maybe not. So, but Joe can talk to those. Other questions? That's okay. So who would you
So to Joe. Why don't we-
do the map?
Yeah, and I am.
And we'll let Scott close on their
And
meeting.
I'd like to have my district mate here too. I just gave him a heads up. I forgot to let him know in advance that we're doing it today. So I'm gonna have Tate do a little walk around to see if he can find Representative Morris.
We're in committee because
We're still in committee.
Got a packed room.
So are they in the Ethan Allen room?
Yes.
Still?
Ethan Allen room, Tate.
So, that was my bad. I have a lot of things going on. I did let Christy know about it a few weeks ago, but not the specific time.
Come back.
You want to do that or Tate can go?
I'm care either.
I can in a second. I just need to wait hold it first.
Maybe you should go because then Tate.
Where's he at?
Ethan Allen room. Cafeteria. Or environment.
Yes.
Committee. Environment. Thank you. Okay, Joe.
We'll come back.
Welcome back. Haven't seen you in a few weeks. Well, we've been doing corrections. We haven't been doing capital bill.
That's okay. For the record, Joe Ajay, Director of Design and Construction with Building and General Services. As the Commissioner said, I can outline, we have a nice detailed map showing the whole site.
So you gotta turn off your mic, somebody. Oh,
Go ahead.
you haven't been here in a while.
Not rustic.
You're rusty.
So you get the map up. And so this map will show you the areas of the whole, like I said, the whole facility site plan, the fence lines, the buildings, and then some shaded colors. So what we have is there's a dark.
Show where the addition.
Yeah, the dark line right around the facility you see with a bunch of numbers, although it is hard to see on this. That is the property lines. During our permitting process for the facility, which is in the multiple lines running around with the buildings on the inside of it, we encroached on some deer yard. So we were required through the permitting process to do an offset for the deer yard. And off to the left-hand side of this photo, outside of the black line, you see a little bit more green. That's an additional 16 acres that we had to purchase to offset the deer yard.
So that's when you built the facility.
That is when we built the facility. That is correct. And so inside of the fence line, you'll see 6 buildings. In the top left corner, there's a dark building. It's right here. That building is not there. That is the addition. So it is planned for that addition to be inside, already inside the fence. As the commissioner stated, the utilities are already there, ready to be connected. We would just have to construct the building.
And I think that was permitted for
150.
Yeah, there's 150, yes, for a total of 455, yeah. So that nice little squiggly line is the access road that does come up from the facility. And then you see where I have a darker red line that's running around this here. And that area is the area that was originally planned for the industrial park. Way back in 1999 when this whole process started. Since then, there was a breakout 2 years ago with the 10 acres. That 10 acres is roughly this chunk right here. And of course, the rest of it is above it. I've now shown a blue area. That blue tint is the area that BGS would like to retain for an expansion of a chip heating system. Right now, we're running off of propane. The reddish area, sort of to the bottom left of that blue shaded area, is a hazardous waste site. So we're required to mitigate that site, fence it off. And it's also marked here because the town of Springfield doesn't want to inherit a hazardous waste site. So the rest of that area inside of the red non-shaded area is approximately almost 23 acres from what I can do. 23 acres.
So the 23 acres includes that 10 acres? You got the
Yes.
original 10
Yes.
acres that you were looking at for the highway garage,
So
Yes.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And then you carved out that light pink,
Yes.
state keeps that. So the remainder of what's in that dark red that goes all the way down to Spencer Hollow,
Yes.
that's how many acres total?
The math that I've done through the records that I found was approximately 22.93 acres.
Minus, and that
And that,
takes out that pink.
yes, that's correct. That would be the available land.
Okay. And Joe?
So this is then about 13 acres more or less beyond the original agreement. That's being funded.
Commissioner?
So the original agreement, the 1999 agreement, we probably would have ended up to what we have here. Had we stayed with that flexible language, my understanding is that there was a desire to specify it be used for a craft town garage. And this is, I wasn't here, so if you go to the original agreement, we had the authority, BGS, to work with Springfield to identify the transfer of future land with some conditions on the road. And we could talk about that, or Scott could talk about it.
So why was 10 acres brought up then?
I wasn't here, so there was, we went from the MOU, and Matt, maybe the members, maybe someone else can answer that. I'm not sure why it was codified, why it was put into session law. I don't know if it was necessarily the acres as much as it was about what was going to be put on there. Is that a fair statement?
The whole original conversation between the town and the state when this site was being proposed for the facility, the town negotiated with the state that the property that is not going to be used for the facility. We knew it wasn't going to be all the property that wasn't going to be used because a lot of it is steep and not buildable. But that was buildable could be transferred to the town from industrial park. It wasn't really about acreage at that point. And what had been the sticking point for a number of years was part of that agreement that was negotiated, when the land transferred to the town would then take ownership of the long driveway going up. And that was a point of contention for years and years. When Obie was commissioner, we tried to work through this. And then it kind of went by the wayside. And then the conversation started back up a few years ago of using the 10 acres for the town highway garage. And then the ownership of the road was not going to be a problem for the town because our trucks were already going to be up there. So that was the plan, and the BGS worked with the town at that point for how many acres would be needed for the town highway garage. And that was the language that was put in the capital bill back in 24. In the interim, there's been some changes here in the town in terms of, well, maybe we don't move the highway garage up there. Maybe there's another function that could go there, but we're going to need possibly more acreage. So that's why we have our town manager here, and Representative Morris is also chair of the select board. So those conversations in terms of changing what will go on this property has been happening at the town level. So they may be able to bring, because I don't know what the changes were of what the town conversation was. This came to me new because I have not been in the loop on this. So I know that there was talk of a different use, different entity going there, but I don't know anything about it. And then there may need to be more acreage.
So Madam Chair, if I can, to the committee, I think it's really important. I go back to the state and the 1999 agreement, because that is where we all came to the table and we agreed. For me, you know, the transferring the property was always the intent. What's important for me is that BGS protects the integrity, the safety, the security, and stays responsible for elements that are already there. The deer yard, because that's the permitting. We have this one contaminated site. And that we get, if you so agree, I mean, that, you know, we work together to get back to where we are. I'd ask that you don't restrict us on acres, that you let us work through this, but we're giving you this parameter. We know it's not going to exceed 22.93. And that we're able to work through that, because we still need to resolve with the transfer of the land, members of the committee, that's the access road and the responsibility of that.
I've got 3 members who have a committee who have to meet.
I've got the city manager of the building too. I gotta go around.
So I have a forum, apparently. Bring your city manager up.
I will introduce you. You'll be working with her.
Enjoy the spring day tomorrow.
Thank you. Feel better.
It's been a crazy, sorry, it's just been a crazy day. We got delayed on the floor. It's been crazy.
Well, you represent Sweeney still in mind.
Oh, I do. I forgot about Sean. Yes. That's Sean.
That would be, so I, just to close, I would like, if you so agree, I would like the opportunity to work with Springfield, bringing in what the, you know, because we still have to talk about the other elements of that MOU, which talks about when we transfer their land, there are some commitments. Unless you decide, if you, and if the committee decides that you want to be very clear and specific in the language, I think we need to look at all of the pieces in there to make sure we're touching everything.
So when you say there were other commitments there in the MOU, I know there was a commitment of the town taking over the road going
When the
in.
land transferred, and that's really the one. And what does that look? Well, there may be
It's the
one.
road, there's water and sewer.
Yes.
How does that work?
The water and sewer that's coming down the road to the main road.
Correct. It was originally sized for the industrial park. So it's just the maintenance of it, because it is, parts of it is under the road.
So that was the other investment. So there's water and sewer there for whatever Springfield's gonna do. So there are we don't have, and Scott and I have not talked about these details to the committee. What we said is let's pursue with this, but we have the modification in 24, we have the original agreement, and we need to talk about the road and the sewer, because that intent in 99 was really negotiated. And I'm sure we all remember 1999.
Remember this.
I do.
came to BGS.
Maybe the
Junk.
junior member from Bennington doesn't, but I think the rest of us.
I do understand.
Even born. So of that 22.9 acres, how much of that is buildable?
I really don't know. I have not wandered through those woods.
I know everything to the left towards Spencer Hollow is pretty steep. Oh,
But we're gonna see this again before anything potentially occurs, any transfer occurs.
I don't have the authority, sir, because of the change in
Right.
24 to transfer.
Because the language right now, the MOU that was agreed to between the state and the town of Springfield when the facility was being proposed, outlays the parameters around land that could be transferred to Springfield. That's what's in the MOU. But in terms of actually the language to do the actual acreage or proximity of the acreage to the town, we put in language in the capital bill in 24 for that transfer, and the transfer would be 10 acres, and it would be used for a highway garage, town highway garage. Well, now the plans have changed on the Springfield end, so we have to change that language in our previous capital bill to allow this process to go forward. So that's what's before us. James.
I mean, this is probably probably self-evident, but I mean, I don't care how much acreage goes. But, and I'm sure we're gonna find this out, and some of you already know. Is everything there, like, does everything meet the state's requirements for this to happen? If that even makes sense was the
Are
question.
we talking permitted wise?
I don't, what anywise, like, is there any objection on the state side to this happening?
No, I think that's what the commissioner is saying, that, just have flexible language to sort of be a little scrolling on the lines here, but it was originally laid out in this area that you see the dividing road. Right now, the paved road ends right here. So there's all this extension that would still have to be constructed or not. I mean, if we're going to retain the 8 plus or minus acres in the shaded blue area, we'd be accessing that from our side. So it really could become part of what the town needs also.
So for example, obviously it was out of the room for a few minutes, but the conversation had mentioned, I wanted to say this earlier, about something about the deer yard, needing an additional deer yard. Is that land going to the town with the staying with you?
We're retaining to the state, correct?
And I can just, anything that's in our permit requirements or managing, that will stay with the state. So the deer yard was originally a part of the purchase and the site, and as Joe said, went back into history, they actually had to purchase some additional land to make compliance with the deer
That
yard.
is correct.
And so that will stay with the state. Anything that's about permitting, about that existing construction in that agreement, we will maintain that. We are not transferring that to the town of Springfield.
Okay, so my other question is, who's taking care, is it still gonna be Springfield taking care of the rest of the road?
We need to, this is why
Or we haven't got that far?
we, right now, we have to go, we need to realign again. We need to, and I'll let your attorneys figure this out. How do we modify that existing language so we can move forward and work in good faith with the town of Springfield on what their need is? So I don't know if you just delete it and go back to the original, or if there's going to be discussion where you want to codify some other elements. And I'm sure Scott probably has some thoughts.
This is my last question, I promise. So,
I doubt it.
well, Alice, no, it really will be.
That was gonna, I'm so sorry, Representative.
You don't have to be sorry. I mean, that's why I gave you a nice note that said hello today. Alice will know this, for sure. So the original language was vague, that it could be any.
Well, it's in the MOU. It's in the MOU that was agreed to between the town and the
But
state.
then you restricted it and now they're asking to go back basically to the original or no?
Well, sort of, yeah, because what we did in 24, they were more specific in
Right.
terms of what the town was looking at. So we put in language just to assure that the transfer would actually occur. You know, it's for 10 acres.
Uh-huh.
And it was for use as a town highway garage.
Uh-huh.
So we put that in place. Everyone agreed to it because that's where the town and the state, that's where they were at that point. Something changed between that time and now, and the town wants to do another use up there besides the highway garage. But in order to do that, whatever they're thinking of putting up there, they wanted, they talked to BGS about this, and BGS says, well, if you want to do something different besides the town highway garage, we've got to change the language. It's in the capital bill. So that's what they're asking us to do.
So my question is, so Wanda just mentioned repeal. So the 24, repeal the 24 and just leave the original language, or do we have to?
No, you've
readdress?
got to readdress it in
Okay.
terms of how
That's
much
all I need.
acreage is going to be
Okay, thank you.
transferred.
So, and if I can share with the committee, if it's okay, Madam Chair, I can just quickly highlight the language in the original agreement. And so it's item number 8. It says the state agrees to site the prison somewhere within, and Hojo's pit, that's what it's called, area, so as to reasonably maximize the area of any remaining property available for future industrial development, and to offer at no charge any land acquired by the state, which the state deems to be surplus to the correctional facility project in the town, and an expanded industrial park, providing the town with copies of any environmental, et cetera. So we took that original agreement, item number 8, and came up with this map.
Got it. Thank you.
Other questions? Anything else, Joe?
Yep.
I'm gonna go to our town manager, Scott Pickup. I don't know if folks still want to see this or, because we can't see much of Scott at this point, so
We could, do you want us to take down the map?
I want you to take down.
Does Scott need the map?
I don't.
He has a map.
Yes.
Oh, well, we have Kate.
I have a copy here, but thank you.
Great, thank you. So Scott, welcome. We do have Christy Morris in the room with us now.
Fantastic.
Had to go find him. It was my bad. I forgot to give him a heads up about it today. But if you could, right, if you could identify yourself for the record, Scott.
Sure. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Scott Pickup. I'm the town manager for Springfield, Vermont. And I do appreciate the committee taking your time today to walk through this proposal, and certainly appreciate the commissioner's time as well, as we've been working on bringing this to you. It's been a productive partnership between obviously the state and the town, and we have a 25-year history of being, good neighbors, and I think we're all looking forward to continuing that relationship. And I think this is another step in that, as we go forward. There were a couple things I think that were raised in terms of just general discussion amongst the committee. So I just wanted to give a sense of where the town has been. We had done very preliminary engineering work way back in 2016 about how this site might actually be put together as a functioning industrial park. So there is some very, very rough engineering information that would obviously need to be updated. But at that point in time, they were looking at about 1,100 or between 1,100 and 1,500 foot access road, a new road that would continue on from at least right now, the way it's proposed, from the existing access road into this industrial park area. There were layouts for roughly about 5 separate lots that could be developed for various uses, anywhere from 4 acres on up to about 6 acres per each of those locations. And those lots really were 2 things sort of were competing there. One is the elevation changes. So looking at where, you know, we could find the, obviously the least amount of investment in terms of having to do major earthwork. And the other piece, and something that the commission and I will work on as well, is access to three-phase power. There is three-phase power not too far from that location. The question would be, again, future needs of your facility, future needs if we move forward on how we would develop this facility. So there's lots of opportunities for us to work cooperatively here and benefit both of us as we go forward. So, you know, our goal or hope is that the committee would be able to work on this revision of the 2024 language and give us, you know, some ability, because we have to do a lot more preliminary engineering, working with the staff, and then come back with a much more developed proposal that we could bring forward to give everybody a sense of how it actually might be put together.
So, and this is more a question, Scott, I think of the commissioner. So by keeping the current language that we have, where it's very prescriptive in terms of 10 acres and the town garage, that really ties your hands behind your back in terms of moving forward with this new direction. That's correct, Commissioner?
That's correct. Well, I think it ties Springfield in too. So
Yes.
it limits. it
That's why I
to
meant
10
tied the
acres,
whole from the-
And they can only build a town garage.
So by amending the language to allow, and we'd have to work with both you, Scott, the town, as well as BGS in terms of we limiting it to 22 acres, 22.3 acres to be used for an industrial purpose or whatever. That frees you up to negotiate the finer points of the transfer and the finer points in terms of access to the land and the three-phase power needs, as well as the water and sewer that's going up and down the road that goes up to the facility,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And Madam Chair, I think that's a great summary, and if the committee's gonna support this, I think that, you know, we should probably have a smaller group just talk about the original MOU to make sure what was in it in 1999 and what that if you're going to change language, we just reference it and make sure that those things happen and everyone's in agreement.
Questions of the committee and the town manager?
So this is something that could conceivably be resolved in the capital bill?
Yes, yeah, it would be language in the capital bill that we'd be putting in, because we have to amend a previous capital.
I understand. I just want to make sure.
Yep, so we'd be doing, when we do markup, when we get back here after town meeting is when we do it.
I'm good.
So Wanda, when you were talking about a small group working, what do you mean? Is it legal
Well,
counsel?
I mean, well, and it could be, and I apologize that I'm just kind of putting this, you know, I'm sitting here rereading, I don't know how many times I've put this in, but I'm sitting here going through it again. Because, you know, I think I want everyone to have an understanding, you know, back to that agreement in good faith that if, you know, how do we switch the water? Because we put that in, and you know, how do we work through that as a community? Let's make sure there's a clear understanding of what's expected on the road and turning that over. And maybe today, and I'm just saying this, but maybe today, because so many things have changed and Springfield has changed, maybe there's some other pieces that we might want to tweak that's in this agreement that we should bring into it without renegotiating, you know, and I think it's really when I get to the road, the water, the sewer. This language says that the state of Vermont, BGS pays for all of the land transfer and all of the documents. You know, that's an example. I guess just going through it and making sure we understand, because while you give us, I think this is where the conflict came into, Madam Chair, where we gave specific language or received on the transfer of the land and the acreage, we were also operating under the MOU because one didn't replace everything in the MOU. So I think what I'm saying is maybe we should look at the elements that were connected to the transfer of the land and make sure we're all
So
in
that's
agreement.
that's what you're referring to by having a small group of folks.
Yes,
So
and
who
that
would-
was long-winded.
Who would be there? Would it be folks from the town, folks from the legislature, just you and the
Well, I mean,
BGS in the
I-
town?
Madam Chair, I'm really happy to work with Scott first and outline where we think those are.
Yeah.
And that's just a recommendation. I don't know how Scott feels about that. And then maybe we could, come back to the committee, or we could talk with your permission to your attorney. We could brief the representatives. I mean, we're pretty flexible.
So the time frame. Let me just put out the time.
Right, Scott?
That's great. Yes.
Let me put out the time frame for this. We're gone next week. We're not in session next week's town meeting week. And we come back on the 10th of March. And then the capital bill, we will be getting the capital bill out by around the 20th of March. So we would need language towards the end of the week of March 10th or the beginning of the following week, definitely the beginning of the following week, March 17th.
Okay.
Given the end of the first week.
Yeah,
Or if we have to make change.
so that we have enough time during the week for markup. So that's the time frame that we're working in to get the language in the bill.
Basically got 2 weeks, 2.5.
For that.
We're not here to bother you.
Yeah, so we have Representative Morris here, who's also the chair of the select board. Do you want to weigh in at all, Christie, on this at all? I know it's probably caught you short-handed.
Just briefly, so because we have Scott online, so for the record, Representative Christie Moore, Springfield, also select board chair. I think that's a good plan, hearing from the commissioner, meeting with Scott, a smaller group, perhaps with the town attorney. Scott, just for your information, Steve has been involved with these previous discussions and negotiations, so he's well versed on the previous MOUs and agreements, so I suspect you'll want to at least touch base with him.
Yes.
And I don't have a problem being versed after, whatever, keep it small, keep it simple. It makes sense to me. But I do know there has been some sticky wickets in the past about those negotiations and the land size. I think we're more focused now with this.
With the
close to it,
intent.
With the intent, and it's just a matter of crossing the Ts and dotting Ms.
Yeah. And I just want to make sure, I've been working, and I think, and to the committee members and to Scott, I think, us sitting down at first, making sure we're all on the same page of what our understanding is. It's not to be controversial, it's not to negotiate, but 1999 was a long time ago.
For some.
For some. And there were a lot of moving pieces within Springfield and some positive as this MOU laid out. So it's okay that no one's trying to change the intent of it. I know that I'm not, I don't, like working with Scott, that he's not. We just want to align it, and it's kind of like really putting the bow. This is really the final piece. So I would appreciate having that opportunity and then coming back.
Sounds like a good plan.
So
That's great.
what I would ask, this to me is a conversation between BGS and their legal folks,
Mhm.
our town manager in Springfield with our attorney, Springfield town attorney. I would really ask the parties to at least CC us, Representative Morris and myself, while this is going on, and the steps that you've made to keep us in the loop.
All right.
It's really important. It's really important on this end for me to be in the loop because it's in our bailiwick here in this committee with a capital bill. So we need to, particularly my end, I have to be in the loop from the get-go to understand what's going on here so we can work through the language.
And Madam Chair and the representative from Springfield and Springfield Committee, I don't think I think our conversation is not a 4-day conversation. I think it's really, we all have the same goal in mind. I think we all agree to that. Here are the factors that play into it. Do we all understand them the same? Does the state have a concern? Does Springfield have a concern? I think if there's anything that we don't have full agreement on, we're not gonna negotiate. I think that's when we bring it
Coming
to the
back.
committee, and to you all to have a discussion, because I think all of us, because if we end up starting to negotiate and go down that intent and what opinions are, I think it gets delayed.
Okay.
And I'd like to be able to at least present that to you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Scott, that you want to weigh in on?
No, I appreciate the timing. It's tight, but we'll make it work. And I appreciate Commissioner Manoli making her staff and other folks available, and we'll do the same so that we can get this back to you and make sure you have time to take it into consideration. So we appreciate it.
Yes, and I know you're going to be busy next week with town meeting, but just a little.
We're sending Alice back to you.
You may not want it.
I'll have my assistant reach out to Scott to get some time on it.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions from the committee, folks? Anything else? Thank you, Scott, for your flexibility. I'm really sorry last week that
All
we had
good.
to cancel, but some of us live in the southern part of the state and wanted to get home before the storm.
It was a smart choice. It
Yes.
wasn't great.
So we'll be in touch and thank you. We really
Thank you all.
appreciate this.
Have a
Scott.
great
Thank you.
weekend.
You
Yeah,
too.
So for the committee, we finished up for the week. Thank goodness. Thank you, Christy. I'm really sorry. I did
check my phone. We had some testimony going on and they want to get
You guys had a full room.
well, I saw that it was not read and I was getting nervous. That's why I sent it.
I appreciate that. And we were just wrapping up.
Sorry, our schedule got thrown out of schedule because we went so late on the.
And that kind of week.
So for the committee, thank you for the week. We're done. We're back here on 10th of March. We got some bills out. We got 2 more bills to get out. We have to deal with this MOU. Did you check with Brent at all?
It's available in the afternoon.
So let's see if in the afternoon on Monday, that Troy and I can talk with her. So if you could confirm that with
What
her.
time? You want that?
I would say we'll do that after we finish.
Yeah, yeah.
I want everyone to really take time for yourself this next week. When we come back, that first week back, it's gonna be a busy week. There's gonna be a lot of things going on. And we are on the floor, our regular time Tuesday morning. We're on the floor at 3:30 on Wednesday and 3:30 on Thursday. And then our regular Friday. The following week, we kick over to Wednesday and Thursday at 1.
Yep.
So next week, the week we come back, it's gonna be crazy in the building. So everybody's gonna be pushing to get their bills out. There's gonna be a lot of action on the floor at the same time, so we're gonna have to balance everything. So have a good week off, enjoy town meeting. Spend some time resting up because it's gonna be a different pace when we come back.
Thank you.
So let's go off with you two.
We can see the smiles on our